Hey, good evening. Welcome back to Harvest Moon Farm. Tonight we are going to be making some, we're going to be making some Copycat, Longhorn, Parmesan crusted chicken and some crispy roast potatoes. I've never made either one of these before, so hopefully they turn out good. I'm going to start with the potatoes because they take a little longer than the chicken. Alright, so I'm going to put my bowl on here and zero it out. There we go. And we need 4 pounds of potatoes, and I have no idea how much 4 pounds is. So, just by looking at it, I mean. Which I should. I have a 5-pound bag here. It shouldn't be that complicated, but. Alright, I must have already used some of these. I'm not going to make all of these because that'll be way too much for just me and my husband. So I am going to just do half. Alright, so I'm just going to make 2 pounds. The recipe, the way it's written, makes 4 pounds. Now that I've talked in circles here, I'm going to get started. Okay. So first thing we want to do is peel and cut these potatoes. And we want to start by preheating our oven to 450 degrees. If you're using a convection oven, you want to put it at 400. I don't have a convection oven anymore. So I'm going to start mine for 450 and I'm going to adjust my rack so that I've got one of the racks right in the middle of the oven. Alright, so I'm going to peel my potatoes. I'm going to throw the peels in here so I can put them in my compost. And then I'll put the potatoes, after I cut them in small pieces, I'm going to put them back in my bowl and then we'll get our water started. Alright, actually I'm going to go ahead and start the water so it can be boiling when I'm done with my potatoes. Okay, that makes more sense. Alright, so then we're going to cut our potatoes in pieces that are about this size, about 1 inch or so. And I just am cutting out, there's a couple of bad spots, or not bad spots, but eyes that I couldn't really get out. Alright, so chickens cannot have potato peels or uncooked potatoes, so these will have to go to the compost versus to the chickens. That's okay, because we can always add things to our compost. Whoops! Or throw potatoes on the counter, whichever, which I think I'm doing here. So our oven is preheated, but I don't think our water is boiling quite yet. Alright, so while I'm waiting for the water to boil, I'm going to go ahead and just rinse these potatoes off a little bit. And then we're going to add a tablespoon of salt and a 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda to our water once it starts boiling, and then we're going to add our potatoes in and stir that up. So our potato water is just starting to boil, so I'm going to go ahead and add the salt and baking soda. So we need a tablespoon of salt and a 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda. And now we're going to go ahead and add our potatoes into our water. Try not to burn myself. And then we want to let that come back to a boil, and then it'll cook about 10 minutes to get the potatoes all done. While that's cooking, we're gonna put some olive oil, garlic, pepper, and parsley in this pot over here. So we need about 3 tablespoons of oil. And to that, we're going to add some rosemary. Now this calls for a handful of fresh rosemary leaves, which I don't have, so I'm just going to use a little bit of rosemary that I have in my jar from the store. Same thing with our parsley. It calls for a small handful of fresh leaves. I don't have it, so I'm just going to add some of my jarred parsley. We need about 3 teaspoons of garlic, or 3 cloves. I'm just going to use this that I have in my refrigerator. And some black pepper. I'm just going to put a little bit in there. Alright, so now we're going to turn our heat on. Want to put this, except to help you turn the right burner on. I'm going to put this over some medium heat, and we just want to cook and stir this until the garlic starts to brown a little bit. About 2 or 3 minutes. And our potatoes are just starting to come back to a boil. So we're going to take our oil and we're going to strain it through a fine mesh. I'm just using my little strainer here that sits inside my bowl. And then I'm actually just going to put this, give this a little shake so I can make sure I get all that oil out. And then I'm just going to set this right back on my pot because we're going to use this mixture in a little bit. So our potatoes are done, so I'm going to go ahead and drain them. And we want to let those sit for about 30 seconds before we do anything else with them. We want to let some of that excess moisture from the steam go ahead and evaporate. All right, now we're going to just add our potatoes to our bowl with the oil. And what we want to do is just kind of shake these around so that they get well coated. I'm actually going to get the spoon to start with. You want to make sure these are well coated with this oil. Ooh, it smells really good. And then we're just going to kind of shake them around a little bit, and as we do, it will start to build up a little paste on the potatoes that looks like mashed potatoes. And that's what we want. All right, so now I'm going to transfer these to a cookie sheet with a sheet of parchment paper on there. And I want to get all of this out on my pan. And then we want to spread these out so that they're a single layer and get them so that they're not touching if at all possible. All right, so now we are going to take this, we're going to put them in our 450-degree oven, and we're going to let them cook for 20 minutes without touching them. We're not going to turn them or flip them or anything like that. We're just going to put them in there and let them cook. All right, so now we're going to mix up our marinade for our chicken. We need a 1/4 cup of olive oil, 1/3 cup of ranch dressing, and I'm just eyeballing all of this. You can certainly measure it if you want to. We want 2 tablespoons of lemon juice. So we're going to add 2 tablespoons of lemon juice. 3 3 tablespoons of Worcestershire sauce. About a tablespoon of minced garlic. And some black pepper. So I'm just going to mix all of this up here together. And set it aside. So now I've got 4 chicken breasts. And what I'm going to do is cover them with plastic wrap and pound them flat. So I've got my meat tenderizer here. I'm just going to use the flat side and just flatten it out. And then I'm going to put it in my bowl of marinade. And these pieces of chicken are all different sizes, so it's going to, they're all going to look a little bit different. Ooh. All right, so I'm just going to make sure that all of this is getting down in the marinade. Make sure that it's all covered. And then we're going to let that sit while we make our breading. All right, so we need a cup of Parmesan cheese and a cup of provolone. I don't have any provolone, so I'm just going to use some Parmesan and some cheddar. So here's about a cup of cheddar, and then we'll do about a cup of Parmesan. All right, so we're going to use about a cup or so of Parmesan. And to that, we're going to add about 1/3 of a cup of ranch dressing. So I'm going to go ahead and stir this up. Okay. And now we're going to mix up our panko bread topping. All right, so we're going to start with some butter, and we need about 1/3 of a cup. And we're going to go ahead and melt that. So to our melted butter, we're going to add 2 teaspoons of garlic powder, about 1/4 teaspoon of salt, and 1 cup of our panko breadcrumbs. All right, and then we're just going to stir that all together and make sure that it's all mixed up. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and start cooking our chicken. So we're going to put some oil in our pan, about 2 tablespoons. So we're going to heat that up, and we're going to cook our chicken. We're going to sear the chicken until it's done. It's going to take about 6 minutes per side. We want to make sure our pan is nice and hot first. So our first 20 minutes are done for our potatoes. And now I'm just going to take this really thin spatula and I'm just going to kind of turn these potatoes. So now I'm going to put them back in the oven and we're going to cook them for about 10 more minutes and we're going to see how they look after that. Alright, so I'm going to dump these potatoes in this bowl with the garlic and other seasonings that we have the oil in. And then we're going to mix that up. We're going to add just a little salt to these. And then if we need more when we're eating, we can go ahead and add salt to our own. But I don't want to over salt them. So our chicken's done. So now we're going to put it on a cookie sheet. So we're going to put it on a cookie sheet, and I've got a piece of parchment paper on here just for easier cleanup. And so now we want to, so let me get a spoon. We want to take our cheese and ranch mixture and we want to divide it up on these pieces of chicken. So I'm just going to kind of pile it up on there and kind of smash it down as best I can to make it stay. And this is where this parchment paper is going to come in handy because cheese is dropping and it's going to melt all over the pan. Let's see, this one needs a little more, I think. Oops. Alright, well, cheese is falling off, but that is okay. I got it, I think, about as good as I'm going to get it. You guys can see how that looks. And now I'm going to take my breadcrumbs. I'm going to take that mixture and put that on top of the cheese. And this is going to fall off. There's not really any way around it. I guess unless you smashed your chicken out really, really flat and they were much bigger surface area. But I'm just doing the best I can, just knowing that some of it's going to fall off. Okay, so now our chicken pieces look like this. So I'm going to put them in the oven for about 5 minutes. It's still at 450 degrees from the potatoes. And then for a vegetable, I had some home canned green beans and I just warmed those up and we'll have those as our side, along with our potatoes. Alrighty, so here is our chicken. It looks delicious, it smells delicious. So I'm going to go ahead and just some of this up for my husband and I, and we're going to give it a try. Alright, so we're going to take a little taste test. I'm going to start with the potato. Those are really good.
Chicken's good.
Is it?
Yep. Potato. Potatoes are good. Yeah, it's delicious. Perfect, babe.
Oh yeah. That is really good.
Have another bite.
Okay. Well, we are gonna go eat our dinner, and I'll be back tomorrow with another recipe.